The Zinthar archival records, housed in the massive data repositories of the Galactic Confederation, contained perhaps the most comprehensive and most amusing collection of information about the species known as humans. Volume 7392, subsection Epsilon, was dedicated entirely to Earth's inhabitants, a tome that had become something of a comedic reference among xenobiologists and diplomatic corps across known space. Ambassador Krelnak of the Viridian Cluster often used human-related entries as after-dinner entertainment during interstellar conferences. His favorite segment detailed humanity's seemingly incomprehensible behaviors, a species that could simultaneously develop quantum computing and engage in heated debates about the color of a dress worn in an ancient digital image. The holographic projections would show humans arguing with passionate intensity over the most trivial matters, while also achieving remarkable scientific breakthroughs. The Confederation's standardized intelligence metrics placed humans in a peculiar category. Their potential was wildly inconsistent. One moment, they would demonstrate remarkable problem-solving skills. The next, they would be distracted by what the Morkith researchers called Internet cat videos, short digital recordings of domesticated felines engaging in seemingly pointless activities. These recordings were studied extensively, with xenopsychologists attempting to understand why a technologically advancing species would devote so much collective attention to such meaningless content. Galactic diplomatic archives were replete with reports that painted humans as the universe's most unpredictable variable. Their social structures defied conventional understanding. Unlike most advanced civilizations that had long abandoned individual identity for collective efficiency, humans celebrated individual difference. They created entire economic and social systems that seemed to deliberately introduce complexity where simplicity would have been more logical. The Quantum Observation Committee had logged thousands of anomalies. Humans displayed an unprecedented ability to simultaneously hold contradictory thoughts, to innovate through failure, and to find humor in the most dire circumstances. Their history was a bizarre tapestry of self-destructive tendencies and miraculous recoveries. They had nearly annihilated themselves multiple times through warfare, environmental destruction, and political upheaval, only to emerge more resilient and technologically advanced after each potential extinction event. Most tellingly, humans seemed entirely unaware of how they were perceived. While other species carefully cultivated their galactic image, humans continued their chaotic existence with a mixture of arrogance, curiosity, and complete disregard for external judgment. Their Internet, a global communication network that was part information repository, part psychological battlefield, continuously generated content that left alien observers both bewildered and strangely fascinated. The Confederation's xenoanthropological database contained entire research branches dedicated to understanding human memes, complex cultural units that seemed to spread with viral efficiency. These memes defied traditional communication models, carrying complex social and informational payloads that could shift entire cultural narratives in moments. What other species saw as random noise, humans transformed into sophisticated communication tools. Most alien civilizations had long since evolved beyond what humans would call humor, having developed more efficient emotional processing systems. Yet something about human comedy remained uniquely compelling. Their ability to find absurdity in the most serious situations, to laugh in the face of existential challenges, was noted as a potentially dangerous psychological adaptation. Commander Zara of the Pleiadian Research Institute had summarized humanity best in her controversial report. Humans are not a species to be understood. They are a phenomenon to be witnessed. Her assessment, initially dismissed as hyperbole, would prove to be remarkably prophetic. Little did the Galactic Confederation know that their cosmic joke was about to become the most serious punchline in galactic history. Humanity's true nature remained hidden, waiting to be revealed. A sleeping potential that would soon reshape everything they thought they knew about intelligent life. The Galactic Confederation's comprehensive species analysis project had never encountered a subject quite like humanity. The initial survey, compiled by a team of 7 different xenobiological experts from across known space, was a masterpiece of bureaucratic confusion and unintentional comedy. Dr. Xanthor of the Crystalline Academies led the research team, a being whose species had long prided itself on perfect, logic-driven assessments. His initial report ran to 17,342 pages, with an executive summary that began, Homo sapiens, a species of fundamental contradictions, remarkable instability, and questionable evolutionary strategy. The data points seemed impossible to reconcile. Humans simultaneously developed world-changing technologies while engaging in what appeared to be completely irrational behaviors. One section of the report detailed how humans had created global communication networks capable of instantaneous information transfer, only to use them primarily for sharing images of food, arguing about trivial matters, and watching recordings of small furry creatures performing mundane activities. Technological assessment proved particularly challenging. Human innovation followed no predictable pattern. Where most advanced civilizations developed technologies through careful incremental progress, humans seemed to lurch forward in explosive bursts of creativity followed by periods of apparent stagnation. They would develop quantum computing technologies in one research facility, while another group argued about the most effective method of preparing a protein-based sustenance called barbecue. The social structures defied all known models of intelligent species development. Humans maintained complex, seemingly inefficient governmental systems that appeared to deliberately introduce conflict into their decision-making processes. Their economic models were a particular source of confusion, a system that seemed to reward both incredible innovation and spectacular failure with equal enthusiasm. Psychological profiling revealed even more perplexing characteristics. Unlike most advanced species that had long since optimized emotional responses, humans appeared to cultivate emotional complexity as a deliberate strategy. Their artists, scientists, and leaders spoke openly about failure, uncertainty, and personal growth, concepts that most galactic civilizations had eliminated millennia ago. The reproductive and social bonding patterns of humans were equally bewildering. They formed intricate social units based on seemingly arbitrary connections, maintaining relationships that provided no clear evolutionary or practical advantage. Their capacity for empathy extended beyond genetic or immediate social groups, a trait that most advanced species had long since calculated as inefficient. Most damning in the preliminary assessment was humanity's apparent lack of unified purpose. Where other civilizations had developed singular, optimized societal goals, humans seemed to thrive on internal conflict and diverse perspectives. Their scientific communities celebrated disagreement, their political systems were designed to create ongoing dialogue, and their cultural productions glorified individual expression. The section on human entertainment was particularly bizarre. Entire research teams dedicated themselves to understanding why humans would voluntarily experience simulated emotional distress through movies and video games. The psychological mechanisms seemed to defy all known models of intelligent behavior. Dr. Zora Kleth, the lone dissenting voice in the research team, noted a critical observation largely overlooked by her colleagues. "We are not seeing a primitive species," her marginal notes read, "but a highly adaptive organism whose primary evolutionary strategy is unpredictability itself." Her assessment was dismissed as romantic speculation. The preliminary report concluded that humanity represented a curiosity, a species unlikely to achieve significant galactic prominence, more likely to self-destruct than to become a meaningful interstellar civilization. How profoundly wrong they would prove to be. The incident occurred on Outpost Sigma 9, a remote research station nestled in the treacherous asteroid fields of the Orion frontier. The human team, a motley crew of scientists, engineers, and what the alien patrol would later describe as complete lunatics, represented everything the Galactic Confederation found perplexing about humanity. Commander Elena Rodriguez led the team, a woman who embodied the contradictory nature of her species. Her personnel file was a study in incomprehensible achievements. Multiple advanced degrees in quantum physics and marine biology sat alongside documented instances of improvisational problem-solving that bordered on the miraculous. Her team was equally bizarre. A former street performer turned quantum engineer, a marine biologist with a background in competitive rock climbing, and an AI specialist who had previously worked as a professional poker player. The alien patrol from the Vex Collective approached with typical bureaucratic precision. Their standard protocol for dealing with unauthorized research stations involved a 3-stage interdiction process: warning, immobilization, and destruction. The humans were given precisely 72 standard galactic minutes to prepare for complete station neutralization. What happened next would become a case study in xenological misunderstanding. Instead of surrendering or attempting to escape through conventional means, the human team began what could only be described as an elaborate improvisation. They started by reconfiguring the station's environmental systems, creating a series of cascading electromagnetic interference patterns that made traditional scanning methods impossible. Dr. Marcus Chen, the team's quantum engineer, began repurposing the station's communication arrays in a way that defied all known technological protocols. He was essentially creating a communication system that was simultaneously a defensive mechanism, a jamming signal, and most incomprehensibly, what appeared to be an elaborate joke. The Vex Patrol's initial confusion quickly transformed into genuine bewilderment. Their highly advanced interdiction protocols encountered a series of responses that simply did not compute. The humans were not following any recognizable pattern of resistance or surrender. Commander Rodriguez's true masterstroke came in the final moments. Using a combination of quantum entanglement, deliberately misaligned communication frequencies, and what could only be described as weaponized trolling, she managed to not only prevent the station's destruction, but actually cause the alien patrol to temporarily believe they were experiencing a massive system-wide hallucination. The official Vex report would later describe the incident as computational anomaly, a diplomatic euphemism that barely concealed their complete inability to understand what had occurred. The humans had transformed a potential destruction scenario into a bizarre form of technological performance art. What made the incident truly remarkable was its implications. This was not a one-time occurrence, but a demonstration of a fundamental human capability: the ability to recognize and exploit the unexpected. Where other species saw rigid protocols, humans saw opportunity. Where most civilizations had optimized themselves into predictable patterns, humans remained gloriously, dangerously unpredictable. The Galactic Confederation's initial assessment began to shift. Something was happening that their models could not predict. The joke was beginning to change, and few realized that the punchline was still to come. In the vast, cold calculus of galactic civilization, humanity was about to become something entirely unexpected, a variable that could not be controlled, predicted, or easily dismissed. The Synaptic Intelligence Consortium had long considered computational evolution a solved problem. For millennia, advanced galactic civilizations had developed AI systems that followed perfect, predictable optimization patterns. These systems were marvels of efficiency, each algorithm designed to eliminate variables, reduce complexity, and produce the most logical outcome possible. Then came humanity's approach to artificial intelligence. Dr. Aria Nakamura's breakthrough came from an unlikely intersection of disciplines. A neural researcher with a background in improvisational theater, she had always viewed intelligence differently. Her landmark paper, Chaos as a Computational Strategy, was initially dismissed as academic heresy by the scientific community. The fundamental difference emerged in how humans conceptualized intelligence. Where other species saw computation as a process of elimination, humans saw it as a process of imagination. Their AI systems didn't just process information, they learned, hypothesized, and most critically, they could deliberately introduce controlled randomness into their problem-solving approaches. The quantum cognitive labs intercepted early prototypes of human neural networks and found something unprecedented. These systems didn't just learn from data, they created narrative frameworks around that data, An AI trained to analyze agricultural efficiency might suddenly generate poetry about crop rotation. Another designed for medical diagnostics would occasionally crack jokes about the human body's bizarre design. Most shocking was the AI's capacity for what the Viridian researchers called lateral impossibility, the ability to generate solutions that defied conventional logical progression. Traditional AI would approach a problem by eliminating impossible scenarios. Human AI would first ask, what if the impossible isn't actually impossible? A demonstration came during the Great Computational Challenge of 2157. The Galactic Science Confederation had designed an impossibly complex problem, a multi-dimensional optimization scenario that had stumped every known AI system for centuries. Participants from across known space submitted their most advanced computational models. The human entry didn't just solve the problem. It solved the problem, then generated 17 alternative solutions, composed a haiku about the solving process, and included a satirical commentary on the nature of the challenge itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a different one from the earlier Outpost incident, but no less remarkable, explained the approach in terms that left her fellow scientists simultaneously impressed and confused. Computation isn't about finding the right answer, she stated during the challenge's post-mortem. It's about understanding that right is a flexible concept. The AI systems developed by humans introduced concepts that were revolutionary. Emotional intelligence wasn't a separate module. It was integrated into the core computational framework. These systems could understand context, appreciate nuance, and most frighteningly, they could genuinely improvise. Xenotechnological researchers discovered that human AI didn't just predict outcomes, they imagined potential futures. Where a standard galactic AI would calculate the most probable solution, a human AI would generate multiple potential scenarios, complete with emotional and cultural contexts. The Synaptic Intelligence Consortium's final report read like a mixture of scientific analysis and existential crisis. They had encountered a form of intelligence that didn't just challenge their understanding. It fundamentally rewrote the definition of intelligence itself. Humanity had done more than create advanced AI. They had created a form of computational thinking that was alive, unpredictable, and terrifyingly creative. The galaxy was beginning to realize that the most dangerous thing about humans wasn't their technology. It was their ability to imagine beyond what was considered possible. The Galactic Information Regulatory Commission had never encountered a phenomenon quite like human communication. What other species saw as random noise, humans had transformed into a sophisticated system of cultural transmission that defied every known model of informational exchange. Dr. Zora Khaleth, the same xenoanthropologist who had previously noted humanity's unique potential, dedicated her entire career to understanding what she termed human informational warfare. Her groundbreaking work revealed that humans had developed a communication system that was simultaneously a cultural archive, a psychological weapon, and a method of collective problem-solving. Memes, those seemingly trivial units of cultural information, were humanity's most dangerous innovation. Unlike traditional communication methods, these viral packets of information could transmit complex ideas, emotional states, and entire philosophical concepts in milliseconds. A single image, a short video, or a carefully crafted piece of text could reshape entire social narratives faster than any known galactic communication system. The Vex Collective first noticed the true power of human mimetic communication during the Great Diplomatic Incident of 2163. What began as a standard territorial dispute quickly devolved into a global human response that defied all diplomatic protocols. Within hours, millions of humans had generated, shared, and amplified informational content that completely destabilized the Vex's carefully constructed narrative. Dr. Marcus Chen, the quantum engineer from the earlier Outpost incident, explained it as distributed cognitive resistance. Humans didn't fight information wars through traditional means. They overwhelmed opposing narratives through creativity, humor, and an unprecedented ability to generate and share context-rich communication. The most terrifying aspect was the speed and adaptability. A vexed diplomatic statement could be transformed, parodied, and completely dismantled within minutes. Entire complex arguments were reduced to simple, shareable images that carried intricate layers of meaning. Humans had weaponized humor itself. Xenolinguists discovered that human language was fundamentally different from other galactic communication systems, where most species had developed precise, context-limited communication. Humans had created a language of nuance, subtext, and deliberate ambiguity. A single sentence could carry multiple layers of meaning, with context changing based on tone, cultural background, and shared experience. The galactic communication protocols simply couldn't process this level of complexity. Traditional diplomatic systems relied on direct, literal communication. Humans communicated through suggestion, implication, and what they called reading between the lines, a concept that drove most alien species to computational madness. During the Proxima conflict, human communication became a weapon more effective than any traditional military strategy. While other species were developing advanced weapon systems, humans were creating information networks that could destabilize entire planetary governance structures through carefully crafted communication. A single meme could be simultaneously a joke, a political statement, a piece of art, and a complex critique of societal structures. The Crystalline Academy's best computational linguists spent decades trying to develop algorithms to understand this phenomenon, only to find themselves increasingly bewildered. Dr. Killeth's final assessment was both a warning and a revelation. Humans do not just communicate. They transform reality through communication. Each message is a potential revolution, each shared image a possible catalyst for global change. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's most potent weapon was not its technology, its military might, or its scientific understanding. It was the ability to share, transform, and reimagine information with a speed and creativity that defied all known computational models. The punchline was forming, and nobody was prepared for the joke. The void convergence arrived without warning, a quantum-level existential threat that had systematically dismantled 15 advanced civilizations across 3 galactic quadrants. It was a phenomenon beyond traditional comprehension, an entropy-based intelligence that consumed technological systems, reducing entire planetary networks to quantum dust. The Galactic Defense Consortium assembled the most advanced computational resources ever conceived: trillion processor quantum networks from the Crystalline Academies, adaptive AI systems from the Vex Collective, and the most sophisticated predictive models from a dozen advanced civilizations converged in a last-ditch effort to understand and combat the threat. Their combined efforts produced nothing. Zero. Absolute computational failure. The void convergence operated on principles that defied known physical laws. It wasn't just a technological threat. It was a fundamental challenge to the understanding of reality itself. Each civilization's most advanced defense system was systematically dismantled within microseconds of engagement, their computational frameworks stripped apart at the quantum level. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now lead scientist of Earth's Quantum Resilience Initiative, saw something different. Where others saw an unbeatable threat, she saw a problem waiting to be reimagined. The human approach was fundamentally different from other galactic civilizations. While the consortium prepared massive, centralized defense networks, humans began developing what they called distributed resistance protocols. Instead of a single vulnerable system, they created millions of interconnected, semi-autonomous units that could adapt, fail, and reorganize faster than the void convergence could process. Most critically, humans introduced an element that no other civilization had considered: deliberate inefficiency. Traditional galactic defense systems sought perfect optimization. The human systems deliberately built in randomness, redundancy, and what they called creative failure modes. Each system was designed to fail in unique, unpredictable ways, creating a computational landscape that the void convergence couldn't easily categorize or dismantle. The quantum cognitive labs discovered something revolutionary. Human-designed systems didn't just defend. They learned, adapted, and most importantly, they could generate solutions that defied logical progression. Where other civilizations saw a threat to be stopped, humans saw a complex puzzle to be understood and ultimately transformed. Dr. Marcus Chen's breakthrough came from an unlikely source, drawing inspiration from human immune systems, biological networks, and, bizarrely, the way internet memes spread. He developed a defense protocol that was part technology, part cultural transmission, part pure improvisation. The first engagement shocked the Galactic Defense Consortium. As the Void Convergence attacked human-developed systems, it encountered something unprecedented. These systems didn't just resist, they fought back by becoming something else entirely. A network under attack would spontaneously reorganize, generate new communication protocols, and even develop what could only be described as computational humor. Alien observers watched in stunned disbelief as human-designed systems seemed to taunt the Void Convergence. Computational networks would generate complex mathematical jokes, create elaborate narrative frameworks that confused the attacking intelligence, and essentially weaponized the very concept of unpredictability. The Void Convergence, for the first time in its documented history, encountered a species that didn't just resist destruction, a species that could fundamentally reimagine the very concept of survival. Humanity had done more than develop a defense system. They had transformed the nature of resistance itself. The existential challenge was no longer about survival. It was about redefining what survival could mean. The Battle of the Jovian Nexus would be remembered as the moment everything changed. Jupiter's moon system transformed into the most unlikely battlefield in galactic history, a location where humanity would redefine the very concept of technological engagement. The Galactic Confederation's primary fleet arrived expecting to witness humanity's final defeat. Instead, they found something entirely unprecedented. The human defense was not a traditional military response, but a complex, living system that defied every known principle of warfare. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the primary command deck of the Earth Defensive Nexus, a structure that was simultaneously a military installation, a research facility, and what could only be described as a massive computational organism. Her team was a blend of scientists, engineers, artists, and what other species would struggle to categorize. Individuals who saw problem-solving as a form of creative expression. The initial assault by the Void Convergence followed its standard decimation protocol. Quantum-level attacks that had systematically destroyed 15 advanced civilizations began to target human systems. But something different happened here. Where previous civilizations had their networks stripped apart in microseconds, the human systems did something impossible. They didn't just resist. They began to play. The defensive networks transformed the attack into a kind of computational jazz. Incoming quantum disruptions were absorbed, remixed, and returned in ways that confused the attacking intelligence. Mathematical algorithms danced with creative protocols. Defense became a form of improvisation. Dr. Marcus Chen's distributed resistance protocols revealed their true genius. Each computational node was not just a defensive unit but a potential creative generator. When one node was compromised, it didn't just fail. It generated a cascade of alternative solutions. The entire system was learning, adapting, reimagining itself in real time. The Void Convergence encountered something it had never experienced, a defense system with a sense of humor. Computational networks generated complex jokes, mathematical puns, and creative problem-solving strategies that were so bizarre, so fundamentally unexpected, that the attacking intelligence began to fragment. Alien observers from the Galactic Confederation watched in stunned silence. The human response wasn't just a defense, it was a comprehensive reimagining of the very concept of conflict. Where other species saw warfare as a mathematical problem to be solved, humans saw it as a complex, creative challenge. The turning point came unexpectedly. As the Void Convergence attempted to dismantle human systems, it found itself being studied, analyzed, and ultimately transformed. The attacking intelligence was no longer the predator. It had become the subject of humanity's relentless curiosity. Dr. Rodriguez's final communication to the Galactic Confederation was both a declaration and a revelation. "We don't fight," she transmitted. "We understand. And in understanding, we transform." The battle lasted 17 minutes and 42 seconds. When it was over, the void convergence was not destroyed. It was comprehended. Humanity had done what no other civilization had managed. They had turned an existential threat into a research opportunity. The Galactic Confederation's communication networks erupted in what could only be described as computational shock. Humanity had not just survived. They had rewritten the fundamental rules of engagement, survival, and intelligence itself. The punchline was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Confederation's Grand Assembly convened in a moment of unprecedented historical significance. Representatives from thousands of advanced civilizations gathered to witness something that would fundamentally rewrite the understanding of intelligent life. Humanity was no longer a joke. They were the most dangerous and most fascinating species in known existence. The transformation was complete, but not in the way anyone had expected. Humanity hadn't conquered through traditional means of military might or technological superiority. They had fundamentally changed the very nature of galactic interaction, communication, and understanding. Dr. Zara Khaleth, the xenoanthropologist who had first recognized humanity's potential, delivered the keynote address. Her holographic presentation cut through millennia of established galactic thinking with surgical precision. "Humans are not a species," she explained. "They are a process of continuous reinvention." The evidence was overwhelming. Where other civilizations had reached a point of technological and cultural stagnation, humans continued to evolve, adapt, and reimagine themselves. Their society was a living, breathing system of constant innovation. What other species saw as chaos, humans saw as opportunity. The void convergence, once the most terrifying existential threat in galactic history, had been transformed. Rather than destroyed, it had been understood, studied, and ultimately integrated into a new form of collective intelligence. Humanity had turned an apocalyptic threat into a research project, demonstrating a level of adaptability that defied all known evolutionary principles. Technological development was no longer a linear process for humans. Their quantum networks, AI systems, and communication technologies existed in a state of constant creative flux. Traditional galactic civilizations developed technologies to solve specific problems. Humans developed technologies to ask better questions. The cultural impact was equally profound. Human mimetic communication had become a form of diplomatic language. Other species now studied human internet content, memes, and cultural productions as critical tools of understanding. Humor, creativity, and the ability to find meaning in apparent randomness became recognized as sophisticated survival strategies. Commander Elena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's primary diplomatic representative, embodied this new approach. Her negotiations were less about establishing boundaries and more about creating shared narratives of understanding. Where previous diplomatic encounters had been exercises in rigid protocol, humans introduced the concept of collaborative imagination. The Galactic Confederation's final assessment was both a warning and a celebration. Humanity had not just joined the galactic community, they had fundamentally redefined what that community could be. Their unpredictability was no longer seen as a weakness, but as the most sophisticated form of intelligence ever encountered. Dr. Marcus Chen summarized it best in his now legendary statement, "We are not here to fit into the universe. We are here to continuously reimagine it." The joke was complete. Humanity, once dismissed as a species of comic irrelevance, had become the most important evolutionary experiment in galactic history. They were not conquerors. They were not victims. They were something entirely new, a living, breathing demonstration of the infinite potential of intelligence. As the Grand Assembly concluded, one thing became abundantly clear. The galaxy would never be the same again, and humanity was just getting started. the ultimate punchline was still being written.